All right. Hello again, adventures, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is Daily Vlog 2025, number 183, 4, somewhere in there. I will put the correct number on the thingy, because then the thingy will... Numbers are hard. So, today... I want to talk about something that always makes me giggle a little bit and depresses me a lot more. And that is the perceived power of petitions. Couldn't remember the word for a second there. The perceived power of petitions. This is all coming from, if anyone is unaware, there is currently a petition in the EU that is started by a group called Stop Killing Games. I don't want to say strong opinions because they're really not that strong. They're just blatantly obvious to me, which is... Stop Killing Games is run by a bunch of people that don't understand how games are made and are going to be almost as useful to the video game community as the Amazon Do Better group was to Twitch streamers. They were next to worthless because they had no idea how Twitch worked, and they were asking them to do things that simply were physically impossible. Now, does Stop Killing Games have slightly more brains behind it than the morons that were behind Amazon Do Better? Kind of, but it's still a bunch of people basically saying things that aren't possible. But that's not actually what I want to talk about here, which is why I'm not mentioning Stop Killing Games in the title, because that will just get a bunch of Stop Killing Games fans here saying that I don't know what I'm talking about. Fine, go ahead. Tell me I'm stupid. I don't care. It's not the point of this. My point is the whole thing, like the whole purpose for the Stop Killing Games group is to get 1 million people to sign a petition, because in the EU they have this thing where if you can get 1 million signatures on a petition within a certain period of time, then apparently they are required to review whatever the petition is about. Now, some interesting things about the European Union just in general. So, according to AI Overview, as of January 1st, the EU's population is 449.2 million people. So, 1 million people is less than 1% of the total population. So why does that matter? Well, because people think petitions are this amazing, powerful thing that will actually get things done, when in all actuality, a lot of times petitions will actually prove the exact opposite of what they were intending to do. I'll give you an example. Back when Power Rangers Hyperforce was still online, and technically shortly after its cancellation. For anyone who doesn't know, years ago, in the before times, Hyper RPG it still is a Twitch channel, but for the most part, they don't really do what they used to do, which is they used to be an RPG live play channel, and they actually did some pretty amazing things. They had a comic book inspired TTRPG that they ran that was really, really fun. They actually inspired me with all the audience interaction stuff that I do in all of my tabletop RPGs. That was actually inspired by something that Hyper RPG did, but instead of using channel points, they used bits and things like that. So literally you had to pay to influence the game. And I wasn't a huge fan of that, but I did like the idea of the audience being allowed to kind of participate in the show. One of their biggest successes was this series called Kolok, which was kind of inspired by a 90s TV show called Twin Peaks, which was this weird surrealist sci-fi. It's hard to describe Twin Peaks without calling it, just saying you have to watch Twin Peaks, but it was weird. And Kolok was done in that same kind of vein, but if I remember correctly, I think they used the Kids on Bikes RPG system for it. And it was probably their most popular show, to the point that AMC, the network, actually partnered with them to release a series, a continuation of this series on the AMC Twitch channel. I think it was. It was officially done by AMC. So, again, in the before times, Hyper RPG actually got contacted, or maybe they reached out, I'm not 100% certain, by Saban, who used to own the Power Rangers license. They're the people that created it, then they sold it to Disney, and then they bought it back for a little bit, and then it got sold to Netflix, and now nobody knows who owns the damn franchise. But at this point in time, it was owned by Saban, and they actually were licensed to create the first Power Rangers tabletop live play. And in order to do it, they had Malika, who is now Zach Eubanks' wife. I think at the time they were just dating. And she did just a crap ton of stuff for the channel. She did a lot of the business stuff, because Zach has never really been the greatest business mind. He's an incredible creative person. Business has just never been his thing. Not saying he was like particularly bad at it or anything. I just my understanding is he just doesn't like it, which is very, very common with creatives in general. So anyway, she designed this custom TTRPG system. And then they cast it with a bunch of YouTubers and actual Power Rangers. Like they had Peter Sudarsu, who was the blue Ninja Steel Ranger. They had Paul Schreier, who played Bulk in the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, all the way through, I think, In Space, and or through In Space, and I think he actually went through to Lost Galaxy, and then he came back during Power Rangers Samurai and was played Bulk again. So he's massive in the fandom, mostly because he's a super, super cool dude. And again, he was, other than I think Jason David Frank, I think he was involved with Power Rangers more than any other actor has been. So anyway, and then they also had Andre the Black Nerd, Megan Strawberry 17. I can never pronounce her last name. And then I can't remember her name. She's a voice actor. She's really good. She does the voice for the Amazing Ladybug and a bunch of other things. But anyway, it was really, really cool. It went for a single season and I've mentioned this before. It took a little bit of time for it to build up an audience. Like it was kind of weird to watch at first. In the middle, I actually, with even being the super fan that I am, I actually fell off, and there's actually a couple episodes that I've never actually seen because I just really wasn't into it. And I think I probably like unsolicited messaged Zach because he and I used to speak. And gave him my idea of some advice, and after he implemented some of that, the audience started getting bigger and bigger. Now, as far as whether or not it was because of my advice or not, I don't think there's any way to tell. I think everything about the show just started getting more interesting, to be blunt. Like, the show started off kind of slow, and then the further and further it went, the cooler it got. So whether my marketing advice had anything to do with it getting more popular or not, I don't think we will ever know. But the show itself overall is great. It was really really fun, and it was officially licensed by Saban. So up until fairly recently, it was considered canon and an official Power Rangers show, to the point where on the official Power Rangers YouTube channel, a few years ago, like 5 or 6 at this point, they had put out, all the Power Rangers intros up till this date. And the last one on there was Power Rangers Hyperforce. They recently put out another one of those videos, I think just a couple years ago, and Hyperforce is no longer there. So I don't know if official Saban has decided that Hyperforce is no longer an official Power Ranger show or not. But at one point, it was 100% considered part of an official part of the franchise. They showed up in the comics a few times. It was super cool. So anyway, after it ended, the only way that it was going to get a second season was if Saban okayed the second season. And so Zach pitched it, and he tried to get them to approve a second season. They didn't, and he had to tell the audience, "Oh, I'm sorry, guys, this is canceled." And so there became this kind of fan movement of, "Hey, let's get a change.org petition started, and let's show them just how big of an audience there really is for this." And I can't remember the exact numbers, but they weren't incredible. If they had more than 10 to 20,000 signatures on there, I would be really, really surprised. If I remember correctly, I think it was under 10,000. And so the fans, despite the fact that we are a very small group, were doing everything that they could to get this, and they go, well, look at this. We have all of these signatures on a change.org petition. You should show Saban this thing. And Zach took one look at it, and he said, "Oh, no, I would never show Saban that." And the audience goes, "What?" It's like, "Oh, no. Do you guys not realize that makes the show look really, really bad? Like, but we got thousands of signatures." Yeah, and the average audience for most TV shows is measured in the millions. If I go to Saban with this petition that has less than 1% of the viewing audience that they want, and go, "Look at all the people that want this," they're going to be convinced even more that they shouldn't do this, because the actual audience for this is super, super tiny. And a lot of the people in chat were simply blown away, because they thought they'd done this amazing thing to help, because they're like, "We have thousands of signatures on there. How could this be a bad thing?" Because they're not looking for thousands. They're looking for millions, tens of millions. If you could get millions of people to sign that, that's an audience. You could show that to Saban, and they go, "Well, hell yeah. We can make money off of millions of views, but thousands of views? No. Hundreds of thousands? Possibly. But just thousands? Nope. It means that nobody actually watches this show. Especially since there's really no, or there's very, very few barriers to entry to signing a petition. It doesn't cost money. It doesn't take an exorbitant amount of time or anything like that. You literally just click on a website, click on a thing, maybe type your name into it, and that's it. It is a remarkably simple process. And things like change.org, they don't have a ton of things that they do to prevent someone from creating 100 accounts and signing the same petition 100 times. They don't really have protection against that, and so they're going to look at these signatures and go, "Yeah, nobody likes this." So the idea of, well, if we can get a petition, then they have to do what we say. Not really. In the U.S. under Obama, I believe it was, he created this thing where there was a website you could go to where you could start a petition, and if you could get, I think it was just 100,000 signatures. It really wasn't that much, despite the fact that again, the European Union has like 450, a little under 450 million people. The U.S. just on its own has about 330 million people. So population-wise, we are actually similar size to the European Union, but for this particular initiative, we required only a tenth of the signatures, and even that was still hard to get. And so I remember, I can't even remember what the thing was, but some activist group was able to get over 100,000 signatures. And it's like, yeah, look, Congress has to actually hear our thing. We are going to see change in our lifetime started by a grassroots foundation. And what happened to it was Congress did look at it. They saw that it was stupid and said no. And that was it, because all they had to do was consider it. It didn't say that, well, we have to do something about it. No, all they had to do was read it. And as soon as they read it, and they went like, no, it's never happening. No one that pays me, or I'm sorry, they don't pay Congress. They support them financially. Nobody that supports me is going to want this. So why the hell would I do it? So, yeah, the idea of, well, if we could just get enough signatures, then something will change. No. You know what I think is going to happen to this Stop Killing Games petition? If they can get the million signatures they need. Right now, apparently, they used to be like 500,000 short, and they only have until the end of the month, the end of July. They only have till the end of July, which is actually a pretty long window because they started this well over a year. So having over a year to get enough signatures, if you look at something else like recall elections, got kind of popular in the past decade or so. Recall elections, generally you have to get a certain number of signatures, and you generally have to do it within like a month or two. So having well over a year is a lot. However, getting 1 million signatures is a lot too, even when your potential audience is 450 million people. So you're asking for less than 1% of the population to do it. It's still 1 million people you have to get to click on a link and, you know, type in their name. So that's an intense thing, to say the least. That being said, most recently, the dude that's just started it said, "Hey, I'm done with this. We're not getting anywhere near the movement that we need. We're really, really short. I think I'm just going to give up." And that got a lot of YouTubers talking about it and a lot of streamers talking about it. And they got something like 300,000 signatures in like a few days. So it's theoretically possible they might hit the 1 million signature the threshold. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's theoretically possible. However, if they do hit the 1 million signature threshold, my prediction for what's going to happen is it's going to go to whatever ruling council at the EU has to look at this stuff. They're going to look at it and go, wow, it took them nearly the entire period to get the bare minimum, which is less than like 0.5% of the population of the EU. Yeah, we're not going to do anything about this. No. That's what I think is going to happen, because the EU thing is very similar to what Obama implemented. It just says they have to look at it. It doesn't say they have to do anything about it. And I think a lot of people just don't understand that, because petitions have been a thing for decades. They're real popular on college campuses. And on college campuses, every so often, petitions have been effective in getting some change to happen, because the people signing the petitions are the ones paying the school. For anyone that doesn't know, in a college situation, you are the consumer. Like, they are selling college to you in order to get you to buy it. Colleges in general are not there to be these bastions of. They're there to sell an experience and get money for it, and they sell it to students, and then they sell it to alumni as well to try and get them to give back. So yeah, people got this kind of false sense of achievement because they were able to, get soda removed from their cafeteria because of how unhealthy it was because of a petition. And no, it really wasn't because of the petition itself. It's generally a lot more complicated than that. The petition itself is just a catalyst to get people excited and to get people to do things. And as far as I can see from Stop Killing Games, they're not. Again, most of the quote-unquote demands that I've seen from Stop Killing Games are unattainable with the current technology and the current way that games are created. And I'm not an expert on game development, but I learned my first programming language when I was in the 8th grade. My father was a senior software specialist for a massive law firm. I understand how programming works. I understand kind of the back end stuff. And I've had other family members and friends that have been in the programming industry. So I'm not an expert in any way, shape, or form, but I do understand more than quite a few of these people that just play video games. And the stuff that they're asking for just isn't possible in like 90% of situations. Like the idea of, Stop Killing Games, the basic idea behind it is, well, we paid for a game, and then there are certain games that, after they're no longer supported, you just can't play them anymore. Specifically things like online-only games and stuff like that. Like, they just disappear. They cease to exist afterwards. And the kind of justification for it, my understanding is, if we paid for a game, then we have a right to be able to play it whenever we want. Which isn't true. It has never been true. Like if I have a Super Nintendo game that I purchased back in the 90s, eventually I will no longer be able to play it. The cartridge will wear out, the internal battery will go down. I don't play around with soldering or anything like that, so I'm sure as hell not going to replace the battery or the internal battery in there. And eventually everything else will just wear down to the point where the cartridge can't be repaired. Nothing lasts forever. It never has. So this idea of, well, I paid for it, so I should be able to play it forever, just doesn't hold water. But sure, let's say that is a thing. Something like the idea of Final Fantasy XIV, if it gets canceled, there is no possible way to make a single-player version of Final Fantasy XIV. It's just not possible. Same true with World of Warcraft, EverQuest, any MMO. It's simply impossible. A lot of these live service games, it's not possible to have a single-player version of it. And one of the arguments I've heard to support Stop Killing Games is the idea of, well, then they should just give all of the stuff to the fans, and the fans will upkeep it. Because we have seen things like City of Heroes. City of Heroes is back because fans were able to get access to the source code and have been running private servers and things like that. Like, well, that's what should happen. No, you are not entitled to the source code of, the hard work of other people. They're allowed to do whatever the hell they want with it. And if they want to keep it and not share it, that's perfectly fine. They made it. They're allowed to keep it. There shouldn't be a law that says, well, if you're not doing something with it, then we get to take it from you. Nope, not how it works. So anyway, this is not meant to be a rant about Stop Killing Games. More the idea of petitions. Petitions are not the things that you guys think they are. And a lot of times, like, if Stop Killing Games had gotten the 1 million mark in like a month, I will guarantee you, not only would the European Union Council thing look at it, they would actually consider it. The fact that the only reason it seems like they might be able to get it right under the time limit is because the guy that started it said, I give up, I don't care anymore, I don't want to do this. Yeah, that's going to tell the European Union, yeah, people don't actually care about this, so why would we do anything? We would be wasting probably millions, if not billions of dollars to create this new law that would severely hamper video game developers throughout the European Union, which that make us money because we make money off the payroll taxes and we make money off of sales taxes and all these other things that are done. Like all of that stuff makes every single one of the member states of the European Union money. So we're going to sacrifice all this money for a tiny portion of people that didn't seem to care enough about this to give it any weight until it was almost dead. No, you've just made a very convincing argument why they should 100% never do that, because nobody cares. And I think a lot of people just don't understand how much bigger things are once you get into the business world. Like the idea of, me making $100,000 purchase, never going to happen. I've never had $100,000. I don't think in the entirety of my career, I'm not sure I've made $100,000 before taxes. Because I never had, no, I had to have, because I was in it for a decade and I was making, yeah, I guess I had to. But that's like, for anyone who doesn't know, like the best paid job I ever had in retail, I think I made 35 grand a year. It was the best paying job I've ever had. And I only worked that job for 5 months. So as far as actual take-home pay, I have never made more than about $25,000 in a year when I was working retail. Most of the time, I made a lot less than that because retail sucks. So yeah, the idea of me making $100,000 purchase, that's mind-boggling. It never happened. $100,000 purchase for a small business is normal. It's a Tuesday. Everything in business is so much bigger. Someone watching, if I was to get 100,000 views on a video, that would break my channel. Like I've never gotten anywhere near that much. I think my most popular video is hovering around under 10,000 views, somewhere in that neighborhood. But a real YouTuber never having a video break 100K is preposterous. And an actual company that is running a YouTube channel only getting 100,000 views in a month, it doesn't mean anything. Like that is enough to justify shutting the entire thing down. Numbers are just so much bigger once you start dealing with businesses. Again, the store that I worked at the longest, well, maybe it wasn't. Anyway, one of the bigger stores that I worked at, we would regularly do between $32,000 and $35,000 a day in total revenue. And then during back to school, we could do $80,000 to $120,000. And that was for like a month. We could do that. Back to school is insane in office supplies, guys. It's just crazy. So yeah, in a single day, we could sell $100,000 worth of stuff and not blink. Like that was just how that particular store, and that was small box retail. If you go to what's considered big box retail, something like Home Depot, they regularly, like every single day, a slow day will be $150,000. Everything's bigger, and so your little petition literally shows, oh, this is something that nobody cares about because you only got 100,000 signatures. And if you're doing less than that, if you're doing 10,000 signatures, 5,000 signatures, all you are doing is showing whomever you're trying to convince that nobody cares about this. Again, when you're in a very small environment, like a single college campus or maybe at high school, where, your graduating class, at a big high school where they might graduate 1,000 students a year, maybe total population of the school is 4,000 students. Getting 2,000 signatures is massive. That is half the student body. And that's half a student body of apathetic teenagers. Like, that's super, super impressive. In the real world, a 2,000 signature petition shows that nobody gives a shit. And a 1 million person signature that took well over a year, or a 1 million signature petition that took well over a year and is just barely going to make it, shows that nobody really cares. So as much as, it sounds really, really impressive, we got 1 million signatures, really isn't. When you look at, the world itself, there's what, 8 billion people now? Talking about less than a tenth of a percent, hundredth of a percent. Like it's nothing. The world is so much bigger, and businesses are not looking at a single market. They are looking at entire countries, and sometimes entire areas of the world. And if you come to them, even with a 1,000,000 signature petition, they're going to look at it and go, in that market, our target audience is 100 million people. So I don't know why we would care that 1% of them want us to do something. 50% of them, even 20% of them, maybe it's time to think about doing something, because maybe we'll be able to do something. But if we do this and all that happens is we gain 1,000,000, we gain 1,000,000 more people in our target market, it means nothing. It's a tax write-off. It doesn't mean anything. So yeah, interested to hear from you guys. Anyone out there actually either started a petition or was part of a group that did a petition? I'd be really interested to hear, first of all, if anything, if you reached your signature goal for it. And second of all, if anything actually happened because of it. I don't need to know the signature goal or where it was or anything like that. But if you feel like sharing a story, I'd be interested to hear of any petitions that actually caused change. Because like I said, my experience with petitions in general, outside of schools, is they're mostly worthless. And people put far too much importance on what's essentially cold calling and a popularity contest. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen petitions that get signed not because people actually care about them, but because the people pushing them are popular. That's how it goes. So, yeah. Like I said, let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, again, that's all for me today. I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.